All right.
Many
Now let's
centuries later.
many centuries later. Let's catch up with Gabriel now as Dracula in the present, technically.
Hmm. Oh boy, are we going to finally get to tackle the opening, Tio? The opening that kind of,
Ladies and gentlemen,
you know.
this scene is what.
Hold
Ladies
on,
and gentlemen,
Roland. Yes, do it. Yes, do it, sir.
so is this what happened after Dracula's Soul Blade Trinity?
I guess.
Well, he couldn't have because
Did he kill Triple H?
No, Ryan Reynolds did. Even his mutant poodles. Actually, no. Was that corgi? I forgot. Demonic dogs.
Yeah.
Yo,
Oh my god,
Drax.
that film was horrible.
Gabriel, I told you, you need to use your machine to breathe by night. This is what happens when you get sleep apnea. So.
Also, Gabriel, you doing well? You look like you could use some sun, my dude. Oh, wait.
That will kill me, you fool. Why does he look like shit?
He looks like Sheev
Because
Palpatine.
Because a lot of time seems to have passed, and, you know, like he said in the trailer, so we now must find blood.
Seriously, therefore I go out into the
And now we
streets.
get these dynamic introduction credits, which
I
like
can-
it's like, supposed to be a movie.
I can see it now.
Why?
I can see it now, actually. Seriously, whenever I go out into the street, people keep asking me to quote that line from Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, to answer your question, Tio, this was during the time in gaming where a lot of games really wanted to try and be movies.
Well, yeah, obviously.
I mean,
but,
I get it with the
I'm
star
more-
power and everything, but
I'm more questioning
Hey,
why.
Patrick
of all
Stewart.
I'm more questioning why. Okay.
no, go on, Pedro. We're just seeing snippets of that post-credit scene of the first game that we already know.
Okay. I'm actually still baffled that, considering at this point in time he would accept pretty much everything of starring in. Yeah, it would have been a really cool idea to bring in Christopher Lee to play any character in this, because remember he was after Bela Lugosi, he is well known for being the Dracula. You know?
To be fair, I think. Wait, Christopher Lee is Dracula?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. He was Dracula, and that's the
That's the thing, Joe. Considering his expertise, Christopher Lee is being both a vampire and a vampire hunter in different movies.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
kind of
right.
amazing.
I definitely remember him as the vampire hunter one, but I forgot he was Dracula. That being said, as for why they didn't have Christopher Lee play Dracula in this series, well,
not Dracula. I'm not saying obviously Albert Carlyle will play Dracula, but I think it would be a nice cameo of sorts.
My guess is
look, it's
that
Christopher Lee.
my
This
guess
was
is
20
that my guess is that he may have been busy with other projects at the time.
Also, Pedro, okay, maybe for the first game, I guess, but this was 2014. He was already frail enough. He barely managed to do his role for the Hobbit movies, and then he passed away.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. British actors, they're super hardcore. They will literally die on the stand if they can. But
So yeah, basically that's your cue to definitely have played the first game because they.
then again, they literally just reproposed the cutscene, so at the very least, you don't have to have watched that scene.
I just
because they
find it a bit weird that they didn't, replay the cutscene from the first one. Like,
It's more of a case. It's showcasing a way that Gabriel is putting back the memories together because he's just woke up, fuzzy memories and all.
yeah, because as you
So,
recall, in the
this-
end of the first one, he actually crashed out of that window and fell in front of the people in the street.
But he teleported away to rest a bit, as we say. So, in the first of the many references that this has to Francis Ford Coppola's, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Dracula is now just walking for a bit in the street that we saw at the end with this bright red robe.
That doesn't
Hello,
stand
Nobody
out.
is saying.
No, we're just probably mistaking him for a homeless guy.
Hey
I
everybody!
mean, it's New York,
Darth
so
Sidious.
Actually, it's not New York.
I
We're
forget-
still in the place in Eastern Europe. But I'll mention more later.
I was going to say, if this was New York, this would actually be pretty normal from what I've heard.
yes.
So now,
Also, that's not the scream Robert Carlyle did in the post-credit scene. Why did you change it?
You wanted it to sound more Demolish.
So basically, and now 1,000 years later,
And
here in
now a young version of Trevor in a spirit form.
Isn't that kind of getting ahead of the story there, Tio?
Well, that's literally has the same robes, Jova, and the game will not make much of a mystery of what the identity of the boy is.
Not really. It wouldn't make much sense. I could recognize that actually.
So Dracula, you're gonna look before
Don't-
crossing the road.
Yeah, don't go. Look before crossing the street.
That too.
Thank you.
Otherwise,
You may be able
A giant yokai will appear and beat the
If you
shit
cro-
out of me.
if you cross the street while the street is red, a yokai will attack you.
You may be immortal, but it'll still hurt if you get hit. by a car.
Sorry, only have Bitcoin.
I'm naked.
You know, I could
So
totally see
basically-
Dracula subscribing to Bitcoin.
So
Shut up.
basically, 1,000 years
More
later.
like Bitcoin.
Dude, you're not convincing. Also,
Oh,
hello.
hello there. A woman hard at work, I see.
Seems like it, yeah.
Look,
So basic-
buddy, you're not having stuff that interests me. Sorry.
So if I understood correctly, 1,000 years later, here in Manhattan, the spell was broken, and now we live again. We are the gargoyles. Always are.
Kind
The
of.
vampires.
There's some influence also on that.
Didn't
Yeah, it was
anyone
like
ever
the
warn you
sequel in
about
general.
going down a dark alley?
The way this game begins actually reminds me a lot of the first episode of Gargoyles, actually.
Oh, have I interrupted something?
Clearly.
Wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to be the creature of the night here.
Well, it's been
Yeah,
like,
that's this is gonna. Okay, Gabriel, I'm not sure about this. So keep one thing in mind. As showcased from the beginning, Dracula is technically immortal. He cannot be killed by conventional ways. What it translates into gameplay is that if your health bar goes to 0, it gets incapacitated, and because of story reason, you're not kind of allowed to, because time is literally on the essence, as you will explain later. So it's a cool way to integrate having extra gameplay and story integration of some kind, despite
it's a
immortality.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah, you
but
can't even put up much of a fight.
So for this part, all I have to do is just drop the controller and do nothing.
Okay.
Oh.
One thing I should point out, the next few minutes of this game are...
I was about to mention, give me a second, Jova. First of all, thank you, whoever you are, mister.
Is this death?
No.
No.
It's actually one of the servants of Zobek. I have to warn you now, though, also you in the audience, you're about to actually witness a fairly disturbing scene. So I'll just leave a timestamp to skip, in case.
your discretion is advised.
Mm-hmm.
Katie, come here! Look, Daddy, the man's moving.
Keep in mind we're in first person.
Stay away from me. Catherine, you come here! Now! You stay away from me!
Ow. Yeah, we don't really have much of a choice.
Oh boy, my favourite kind of gameplay segment, where you actually have to play through the really distressing moments.
It's more of a case of... yeah.
This is going to be such a fun game.
Again,
Well, I don't think-
the stakes are really risen up from the first one.
But right at the start, near the start of the game, though.
Give it a second, Leaves. There is some kind of payout, so I will... Don't worry, I will ask what do you think after that point.
It's like starting a Pirates of the Caribbean movie with a hanging seat only.
Oh wait. I mean, it is working at least.
What Pirates movie was that?
The third
third
one.
one.
Thankfully, we're actually
Hey, I
spared
don't even
to
remember
see
that
from
movie, so,
to see
you
the
know.
child. Essentially, if you have jumped in, all you need to do to know is the fact that Dracula has essentially, killed some victims. That's all you need to know.
That said, though, that isn't what alienated a lot of players into the start of this game. No, I believe we're about to get to the gameplay segment that, well,
Hold
kind
on.
of put a lot
First of
people
all, the Pietà symbolism, okay?
yeah! Looking good, Gabriel, looking good.
And now, for some reason in this game, they decided to make Zobek smoke like being a chain smoker. In every cutscene that he appears, he smokes a lot, and I don't get why.
Because it looks cool.
Wait, no. It's obvious. Smoking causes death, and Zobek is deaf after all.
Anyway, that armor guy that saved us is Zobek's lieutenant, so basically special puppy bodyguard.
Confused. I know what he wants. You see before you the legendary vampire
Reconstructed.
killer. Your old weapon.
Very painfully, I see.
The only weapon capable of ending your immortal life.
Which is why I have it out in the
You
open.
thought it
ready for someone to
destroyed.
run up and,
But you see, you can.
The game is ahead
have
of
the
you, Dwebs,
eternal
don't
rest you
worry.
crave after
Also,
all.
I don't think that's the real one, Dwebs.
No, that actually is the real one.
It is, but it's a hologram.
Yeah, see,
Yep.
that's what I'm
You
saying,
must help
Jova.
me.
Oh, that's what you meant. Yeah.
Prevent Satan's return to the world.
Essentially, it's a simple deal. Help prevent Satan's return, and Zobek will
I will deliver
kill
the fatal
Gabriel
blow to
once
your
and for
heart,
all.
my son.
You know, you gotta
A
find.
painful choice for you.
You know, you gotta love the irony. In this case, instead of Dracula commanding Death, it's Death that's commanding Dracula.
Powerful themes.
And
They
all.
really-
Since you
I
sent
don't
Satan
know what's
back to
gonna kill
hell
him
1,000 years ago,
Sorry, I don't know if I was going to kill
his
him
human
first.
offspring,
The vampire
or
killer or the
acolytes,
guy's
as they
second-hand
call
smoke?
themselves, have been
Well,
born.
again, he is deaf, so
I suppose that
wouldn't that
they
be
that
wouldn't that be
all of
ironic?
us
Nothing kills
feared your
Dracula
wrath
except
and great
smoking.
power.
Look at it this way, Teo.
Hold on. The reason
not
apparently
now.
why the acolytes are returning was because actually Gabriel
Even my
was
bodyguard
asleep
is
for
more
that
than a
long,
match
so they
for
feel Satan's feel confident now. So again,
The
this is
acolytes
why
know
time
you
is on the
are weak
essence.
and are preparing for
Okay,
their
so here's
father's
my
return.
question. Let's say
Now they
Gabriel
fear
does
nothing.
fulfills his deal, and then he
Don't
does
they
die.
fear
What's
the
stopping
mighty
Satan from coming
Zobek?
back?
Because at that point, Zobek should be very
Only you.
powerful enough.
In full possession
You
of
were
their
saying, Jova?
powers can defeat them.
Actually,
I
I think
think it was
Pedro
me.
wanted to say.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, sorry,
It was
Pedro.
me, actually.
Please.
But there's a cutscene still going.
Actually, yeah, because we're about to get that payoff that they mentioned. Whoop, transition.
I've seen worse.
We must find
No,
and
it's
destroy the
it's not even
acolytes
like a
before
Star
they can
Wars
finalize their
wipe.
preparations for Satan's return. It won't be easy.
No.
They govern
Pay
the world
attention
of
now
men
to
from the
Gabriel's
shadows.
expression,
Not even I know
which is
with
I
any
think
degree
it's
of
about in a
certainty
second.
who or where they are. They won't come out into the light unless we can force their hand. The
Yeah.
acolytes must never know who hunts
Yeah,
them
the
down.
game pretty much tells you that despite
The
having
element of surprise
committed
will give us
what
the
happened
advantage.
before, Gabriel genuinely feels
Until
like a
you
piece
are
of
at
shit
full
for doing
strength
it.
again.
But that's basically now what it is, a monster. So,
And you don't know who they are.
and sadly, more important matters are at hand.
Kind of ironic, given all the innocent people he slaughtered before when he
champion,
became
everyone.
Dracula.
You know that this city
Like-
is built
Okay,
upon
I'll just say this.
foundations of your
Kind of find it
castle.
ironic that now he starts to feel sorry,
The
given,
acolytes
you know,
are
all the
focusing
innocents he
their
slaughtered when
attentions
he
here for
decided
very
to
good
become
reason.
Dracula.
Satan has specifically chosen this place
Yeah.
for his return.
We're literally on the
means to
foundation
enslave
of
you
Dracula's
first,
castle, which had a
To
city built
humiliate
around
you
it.
for what you did to him.
Let's get on with it.
No fear whatsoever, this man. Then again, when you've literally punched out Satan before, you kind of just tend to go YOLO.
You only
So-
live once. More like you live for eternity.
So this is gonna be essentially your mini hub, and Zobek will send you into specific location, which
The
later on you will
acolytes
be
must
able to
plunge the
walk
world
in,
into
between
chaos
each other.
before Satan can be summoned.
Interesting concept.
Their activities leave spectral
Mm-hmm.
traces.
Again, Gone is the linear
difficult,
chapter
but not
style way
impossible to
in a favor of a more open style.
This is the headquarters of a
Now
Oh,
we have
the umbrella?
hologram technology. Yep.
I suspect that one of the acolytes is operating from there. The
Yeah, that's
complex
the
was
important
sealed
thing.
2
Zobek
months
doesn't
ago
know who the
and
acolytes are,
is
so he only has
protected
to
by
guess
magic.
from people in positions of
If I
power.
were to use my powers to see what is happening there, they would be able to trace it back to me within a matter of minutes.
I just love this irony that the main guys actually
So,
trying to solve the plot are the
I
typical
will send
bad
you
guys of
to the
Castlevania.
corporation via a portal. But we must be quick.
It's
so
an
as not to
ironic
arouse
twist of
suspicion.
fate.
The longer the portal remains
It's more of
open,
a
the
thing
more
that there
likely
are
we will be
a lot
discovered.
of faction actually,
Look for any sign
dealing
of the acolyte.
in this kind of stories, and the one
What are
we're
you
actually
waiting for?
controlling is not exactly made of saints. There we go. Dracula just has to transform into this mini smoke and to transport himself into that sarcophagus that Zobek will teleport.
Yeah, for the first one, I believe it's set where we go, since we're still kind of in tutorial
Yeah.
mode.
We're actually about to actually receive finally, free control.
Oh boy, are we about to cover that part of the game?
Oh, not sure what you're talking specifically, but
Well, okay, you know what I mean. The part of the gameplay that kind of gave people not that great a first impression of the game.
I have no idea what you're actually saying. Sorry, genuinely, Joe.
He's trying to be as vague as possible.
Yeah, because I don't want to spoil it.
If it shows up, you'll be able to point out. There we go.
Basically, as me and Tio have mentioned, this game had a bit more of mixed reception from both fans and critics compared to the first Lords of Shadow one. That one has partly to do with the story, but quite a bit to do with some of the gameplay choices made for this game.
Alright, there's actually a couple of flavor texts to be told, so allow me a minute, I think it's gonna be said, because again, your stuff is actually handled in this kind of book. It's actually even more detailed than in the first game. The art, the mini animation, the way you actually upgrade your stuff. It's actually surprisingly detailed. Alright. But gameplay-wise, it's in order to upgrade the system, it's kind of the same as in the first game. It just adds this weapon mastery kind of thing, where the more you use a move, the better you'll become at it. Basically, it's kind of like the same as the weapon system in Ratchet and Clank. All right, let me see. Yes, there we go. When Gabriel replaced his blood with Laura's, a change began that went beyond the purely physical, drowning out the love, compassion, and tenderness that filled this man's heart, giving way to the merciless darkness of a dragon. It is a supernatural power that, fed by blood of his victims, flows through his vein, healing the wounds inflicted to him and prolonging the torturous curse for all eternity. The irony. Gabriel's deeply rooted training with the combat cross remaining Dracula. The Prince of Darkness now uses his own blood, which takes the shape of a sinuous whip to inflict pain and death wherever he goes. The dark fluid is bound by a supernatural force, and it hardens on impact. Before they die, his victims feel as if 1,000 fangs penetrated their flesh, breaking bones and tearing their life force from them. It's kind of hardcore. Alright, check a protagonist. Not even his descendants, the Belmonts, nor the innumerable army of the Brotherhood of Light have even come close to annihilating him. He is Dracula, the dragon, an immortal being whose cursed soul is condemned to remain trapped in the body of a vampire, bound to his castle for eternity. From the beginning, the unbearable yearning for revenge is driven along the path of iron destruction, a path of infinite suffering and despair, a road that he would now like to leave behind. Also, the character pages actually do have a small quote from the actual characters. It's pretty neat. The boys who prove that they are skilled enough with the sword are recruited by Rebel Light in their campaign against the forces of evil. The tough physical and mental training they are given makes them very effective in close combat, providing them with ironclad determination. However, if their willpower is not enough, they wear full armor and carry large shields to protect their lives instead. As lower-ranking members, the Brotherhood soldiers are sent to the depths by their generals, with the sole hope of offering them a better fate than their own. How
Lovely.
charming. Here you go, there's Roland. Those who aspire to be paladins are raised in monasteries, educated under the dogma of faith, and trained in the art of war. Their whole life becomes a test in which any mistake, and insignificant as it may be, leads to the complete failure of a mission. Only the purest are capable of showing absolute determination will be recognized by God. Beyond receiving animation of all the favors concerning the Golden Light, the paladins are rewarded with the best weapons and armor of gold, forged by the best master blacksmith from Angel Bones. Their aim from then until the end of days is to serve God in the battle against the offspring of evil and guide their troops to victory. I think Roland is actually mentioning the name is actually mentioned somewhere else. With the upsurge of battles between the Brotherhood of Light and the Forces of Darkness, the engineers of the Holy Order quickly completed the last great work of Gandolfi, the Siege Titan. It is a giant wood and metal automaton, inspired by the stone giants of the forces of Agartha, commanding necromantic wars. Over a decade, hundreds of craftsmen worked to complete the mechanism. In battle, it would be ready to use its enormous extremities, smashing a regiment with a single stamp of a foot, pulverizing the walls of a castle with its fist and dispatching a group of soldiers inside. Its value in war was such that only after it was built did the Brotherhood decide to start the siege of Dracula's castle. And lastly, the two Zobek. Zobek was, together with Carmilla and Cornel, one of the old founders of the Brotherhood of Light, who answered the call of God, living their darkest being on the earth. The Lord of the Dead, however, despite his absolute mastery of necromantic magic, could do nothing against the supremacy of Satan, and his existence was relegated to the kingdom of Lightless. Exhausted and humiliated, he remains hidden for an era, watching over the world of man through his countless spies, extending his influence and preparing his return. When he learned that the power of Dracula had weakened enough, the arrival of Satan was near, Zobek materialized once again on Earth. He left behind the arrogance of his past to take on the role of an influential businessman, and he blended directly with society out to the present. Now he has a new plan, a perfect plan, that will pit his two worst enemies against one another, leaving only he, Zobek, to become Lord of all, once and for all. Jesus Christ.
Okay, as obvious as that was, maybe we shouldn't have revealed that already.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty much clear from the beginning. Dracula's contempt to Zobek's plan is apparent. No one knows the identity of the man accompanying the astute Zobek in his crusade for power. It is rumored that he wears armor forged from metal extricated from the abyss, that he adeptly brandishes a mystical sword by the name of Masamune, capable of going beyond the material realm. Some records indicate that he's a spirit of a damned general, others that he's a demon that must pay a debt to death. However, the most popular story is the one that classifies him as a result of necromantic reanimation of a legendary warrior. After all, it would not be the first time that Zobek used witchcraft to create a powerful armed guard.
Possible Final Fantasy reference, I suppose.
Masamune is a common type of sword.
Yeah. But him being the resurrected
legendary blacksmith in ancient
Japan.
Japan.
Him being the resurrection of a legendary warrior and all that again. Possible. Now,
alright. Go on, Joe, that's fine.
Well, I mean, yeah, you could maybe say it was a little bit obvious, but maybe they could have waited a chapter or two in before going on about, no. Zobek's totally going to take over as soon as Dracula's out.
I mean, he literally did said that he's going to kill Dracula as soon as, Satan is done. The acolytes are done for.
Well, so. Yeah, but to be fair, Dracula actually wants to die, so...
So it's kind of logical to expect him to be on top afterward.
You know what would have been interesting is if he took on a more wiser persona of death and decides, okay, I know what I can do, and basically take on this guy here and there, but not go for outright world domination, because let's be honest, that never works. As soon as you get on top, there's somebody waiting to knock you off.
Anyway, Dweebs and Shirai. Well, I can ask you, Dweebs, in the meantime. what do you make from the, in the meantime, from the scene that happened beforehand?
Which scene?
The more disturbing one where Dracula killed those victims.
Okay, I get it. You know, Dracula is Dracula. He kills people and sucks their life force. But right at the start of the game, though, I mean, that'd be like if you started. That'd be like if you started. I don't know. What would be a good comparison?
Well,
I got it.
If you're gonna set a dark tone, they have to start with an
Also keep in mind
keep
in mind those deaths were not supposed to be meaningless. He literally had to use them to rejuvenate. So that it's not like the game decided to be gratuitous completely about it.
Again, my only thing is like, well, why does Dracula only now show contempt for killing people when he was all about doing that stuff in Mirror of Fate?
But don't you see, Jova? It was because the people were afraid or something. I don't know.
The daggers are used mostly to activate mechanisms, so don't bother using them in combat. They don't do much damage.
Now here's a bit of a...
Making a small cut on his wrist and using the same power to mold his blood for the Shadow Whip, Dracula is able to throw a high-speed shadow projectile at his enemies. When it hits, the blood particles harden, dealing a forceful blow that can destabilize the target. Cool.
There's a reason why Jurassic Park starts with that guy being eaten by the raptor, to establish a somewhat dark tone that this is real. People can generally get killed if there are screw-ups.
I would argue they could have actually not used a child in the equation, because I would say that
I think you're talking about Lost World too. I'm talking about the.
No, I'm talking about this game, Pedro.
Yeah, he's talking about this game.
Okay.
God,
when it comes
here
to
we
child,
go.
that I will agree. Everything outside of that
is extremely gratuitous.
It's because Dracula lost his way until the events of Mirror of Fate.
Okay.
Anyway, let me explain this. As Zobek just mentioned, right now this enemy is too powerful for Dracula to handle. Not in a sense that he has to actually hide from him in a stealth section, similar to the ones in the DLC of the first game. So, in another reference to Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula can actually transform into a rat and actually move away from the enemy and potentially taking him from behind
instead of a bat. Okay, so this point, a lot of people weren't too keen to opening up the main gameplay with a stealth sequence, and I'm gonna be honest, these stealth sequences are not very good either.
I don't really see a problem with them. Sorry.
Here's the thing. People don't like stealth in game.
Okay.
Anyway,
the main selling point.
Hold on, Des. Let me.
The main game is meant to be a stealth game, then it's fine. But if you just introduce it where it's like that's not the point, then it gets frustrating. Like I use Spider-Man PS4.
I like stealth sections including that one, actually.
If I may finish. The stealth sections in this game, I do not feel are good, and a lot of people had complaints about them as well, to the point where even the devs of the game admitted maybe it wasn't the best way to introduce people to the game here. For one, a lot of people did not generate to, of all things, Dracula turns into just a rat instead of,
Again, a reference to a popular movie that has Dracula. I don't know what they were expecting.
As all things, Tio,
of
all things, Tio, maybe people would have preferred to turn into something more mobile, like, I don't know, a bat, which Dracula also turns into. Look, again, also, though, yes, stealth can work in a lot of games. However, people are not necessarily expecting stealth in, what's essentially a hack and slash beat 'em up game like this. It's weird of sorts.
So apparently, getting onto the production of this game, someone from Mercury's team put out a letter, basically saying that the head of the studio, Enrique Alvarez, was constantly meddling in the development. Like apparently, his ego grew so out of control after the first game, he didn't care about anyone else's opinions. And apparently, after the game was released, he fired 30 people.
Wow. I'm hoping he's not...
Getting Neil Druckmann vibes from this dude.
Yeah, that too. I'm hoping he's not there anymore.
That would explain some of the problems with this game. Like, again. The first Lords of Shadow game was a pretty good one, but I can see how all the praise and sales that game got could unfortunately boost an ego. If that is true, not sure if it absolutely is true, but if what that guy says is true, again, that would kind of explain the issues with the game on hand.
Anyway, what you need to know from this bio is the fact that the Golgoth Guard, as we're called, were literally, childs that are overgrown using dark magic, and we're placing those big suits of armor and giving cannons to patrol, the places of the city.
So let's get into one of the bigger complaints about this game, the future segments of this game. Do you like being inside warehouses with a chrome look to it? Because if not, I have bad news for you. This is where most of the future segments take place.
Actually, you spend quite a lot of time in streets.
Has there been a Castlevania game before this that took place in modern day?
Yes, actually a few.
Because to me, this feels like some weird combination of Dracula and I know it's a common comparison, but Metal Gear Solid. I mean, the aesthetic is the aesthetics there, and putting Dracula in it just sounds like a fanfic.
I mean, okay, and like Tia said, we do spend some points on the street, but most of it are spent indoors, and that was one thing people didn't really like as much about the game. Like, look, I'm just gonna say this, I don't think the visuals are fine, but it's the level designs and areas we go to that aren't quite as great as the original.
Anyway, there is a use for actual bats, the fact that you can actually use them as a projectiles that do not actually harm enemies, but distracts them long enough for you to, go around them, bypass them, or having to possess them from behind. However, if there are multiple enemies on the same screen, one of them will try to, dissuade the other, like so. So you have to actually strategize which enemy to be hit and which enemy to take advantage of.
Weird that of all the things these guards have, they're missing a helmet, which would probably have completed the thing.
I don't know, I guess we're confident enough. Well, to be fair, no, like the bio states, we do not have, enough intelligence.
Guess the manufacturer just didn't think that the head might be an obvious, weak spot.
Okay. I'll explain myself from a bit earlier. Okay, it's like, to me at least, making a game that's, set in a darker time is like starting off a character as a total douchebag. You can do it, and it's possible to do it well, but if you go too far in one direction from the start, it's going to be either incredibly tricky or impossible for me to sympathize.
I can tell you this, Lives, in terms of that kind of tone, we're not going down from there. It's if anything, it's actually gonna go up from now on.
Me personally, I'm fine with the scene. I get what it's getting out. Again, my only thing is the plot is the character inconsistency. Like, oh, so now you start to feel sorry for the innocents, Gabriel, when last we saw you, you were pretty much having a hold down on the entrails of innocent beings.
I mean, he kind of needs to eat, Like, that's kind of...
Not just that.
It's an instinct, essentially.
Like I said, similar to the memory thing, Dracula is just woken up, so again, there's a lot of turmoil inside him right now.
Who are you?
Follow me if you wish to recover your sword.
We'll get to this, the detail on what this means exactly in the next part, but for the time being, let me just say that, like Jova mentioned, he mentioned specifically about the modern setting. This is because the game has some convenient methods of having settings that jump between the modern and the classic one. The classic Dracula's Castle.
We're Assassin's Creeding it.
But we will see more of that in the next part. See ya.
See you then.
Bye.
Yeah.
See ya.